Hi, my name's June. Welcome to another review video on my channel. Today I will be talking about yet another Netflix film. It's a coincidence really, it's just these are the films I decided to watch at this moment in time. I know I'm on a bit of a roll, again a Netflix film. But this time, it's the first horror film I will discuss. Well, it's categorised as a horror film. I didn't find it too much in that vein, unless, of course, it's more about the gory stuff and the violence. Then, if that for you categorises it as horror, then yes, it's a horror film. What film am I talking about? It's The Platform. It's a Spanish film. As such, I would recommend that you watch it in Spanish. I think I've explained this previously, I tend to watch films in their original language that they were shot in because I want to see the actual truthful emotion and dialogue going on. I want to witness the film as it was actually made. So I will just put on the subtitles in English, but watch in the original, in this case Spanish. So, The Platform, like I say, it's a sort of sci-fi horror film, I suppose you could call it. The basic idea is you have this prison. It's fittingly called The Hole, as is pretty much every prison. They call it a vertical self-management centre, and I wanted to watch the film just for the concept alone because I found it fascinating. I'm quite happy to say that generally the film was not a disappointment. I thought it was really good. So I was very happy that not only the concept was good, but actually the realisation as well. So the idea is you've got this prison and it's made up of various levels. It goes up very high or very far. It's actually never established if we're actually going down or if it's actually going up. So we didn't see the building from the outside, so I couldn't tell you. Anyway, it's got very many levels. And the idea is that on each level you've got two people sharing their cell, which is just a room with walls, there are no windows. But there are two holes, there's one in the centre of the room, but in the bottom, and one in the ceiling, also in the centre. And what happens is every day you have this platform that descends from the very top, floor by floor, with food on it, which generally sounds nice. You get food delivered to you, which you do in every prison, but in this case it even comes on a nice platform. The problem with it is that the whole platform is filled with just one fixed amount of food every day. And as you can imagine, as it descends from one level to the next, everyone takes whatever they want from this platform. So as it descends more and more, less food is left on it. And this is the basic plot device here. So you've got this platform with food with decreasing amounts from level to level. So as you can imagine, the people on the lower floor, they don't get, first of all, they don't get the food that they might want to have, but more importantly, the lower you get, the less food they get, up to where they don't get any food at all. So the concept of this film was quite fascinating to me. It's about a class thing where you've got the higher classes and the lower classes, but the thing here being that it's not about how wealthy you are or any of these things. It's literally about how high you are up in this structure. What makes it more interesting is that the cellmates, they're in their cell, they're on their level for a month exactly. And after that month, they are taken to a different level. They don't know which one it's going to be. It seems to be random. It's never explained. It's just completely random. And it can be further up, but it can also be further down, so you never know where you're going to end up. Like, as an example, our main character, his name's Goreng. He starts out on level 48, which is described by his cellmate as being actually quite good, and they then jump to level 171, then he's on level 33, then I think it's 202, so it keeps changing. While I'm talking about his cellmates, it's Goreng and his cellmate. I believe these, I looked up the details very briefly of the film and how it was made. I believe they're two Spanish comedy actors. They were chosen intentionally because they typically don't portray characters in these kind of films. But they did give them quite humorous lines, and I did like the interactions between the two of them. That was one of the best things of the film, in my opinion. His cellmate, Goreng's cellmate, this older guy, he likes to use the word obvious, which another great situation where it's good to watch a film in original language in Spanish. It's obvio, and just the way he delivers that, whenever he's getting asked a question, he just goes, obvio. And it's just so funny watching him. It worked really well. And so he explains the whole facility to Goreng and how it works and what the levels are and all these things. So there are various rules that you have to follow. So I've already explained the food is descending from the top to the bottom. While the platform is on your level, you are allowed to eat. You may have already thought of, well, they could just take stuff off the platform and they could just keep it for later. That's not allowed. That's not possible, because if you try and keep food, their cell room will go either so hot or so cold that they die. So it's heated or cooled to a level that becomes lethal. So you can't keep any food, so you only have, and it's a bit difficult to judge because they don't have a timer there or anything, but I would assume that they only have something like 1.5 to 2 minutes to eat, and that's all they get. The next thing is, you see very early on in the film that Goreng, he tries to sort of come to an agreement with his cellmates above and below. He tries to talk to them, and he's immediately told by his cellmate that's not allowed. It's not, or at least it's not how things are done, because those above are above and those below are below. So you can see that this culture of being higher up and lower down, it's perpetually being held up by all the cellmates. And it's interesting because, like I say, it's not like a typical situation where you would constantly just climb the social ladder, or whichever ladder it is, but usually you would expect to climb it over time. So your status would actually increase. But in this film, it can switch from one, if it's the end of the month, it can switch from one thing to the next, as it does in this film. Like I say, they start out in level 48, and then the next month they're on level 171, where, as I already explained before, it's so far down that they don't actually get any food anymore on the platform. So this is where the sort of horror, gory aspects come in, because you typically get cellmates killing each other for food, actually eating each other. So cannibalism was also a thing in this film. If you're queasy about these things, just a heads up. So the main theme of the film is revolution, you could call it, because as you can imagine, you have the management of this prison, who call it a self-management centre. So basically that's all they do. They just present the food on a platform, and basically all the inmates it's all left to them to deal with everything. There are no guards that intervene, nothing at all. And obviously you have to think, well, the best way to solve this would be to get everyone to share out the food equally. And you do get this being tried out in the film as well, because Goreng, he loses his cellmate, he gets another one, and she tries this out. So she tries to ration the food, and she tries to convince the ones lower down to do that as well, and it's only partially successful. It's a bit difficult, but that's the main plot, I'll call it. They're trying to somehow change this system. It ends with the well, I won't spoil the end, but the last attempt they make is Goreng gets another new cellmate, and they devise this idea. They have this idea that they will try to evenly spread the food forcefully. So the two of them, they ride the platform down and they try to evenly distribute the food, and they have all sorts of reactions, results. I won't spoil any of that. It's quite tense. It's good because, as you can imagine, you're going down this platform. It's a very narrow space. You don't know what's going to happen on the next level. It's not like the cells are very big. They're not small, but still, you don't know what's going to happen. Speaking of the cells, that's actually one thing I really liked about this film. The design of it, you're in a cell, you're always in these confined spaces, but they're designed in a way that, to me, were very appealing. So they were very easy on the eye. They've all got this sort of bluish tint, so it was very nice to look at. Obviously, there are no windows, etc., but just all this smooth surfaces. It's all cement, concrete, I suppose. But I thought it was all very nice to look at, all very nice geometrical, exact shapes. So it was very appealing to me. I suppose that's what it's supposed to be. I would suppose, I mean, the prison of all things should be very strict in its forms and in every detail. So that translates into the design of the place, which again, I thought was really well done. And the camera work was good as well, because although again you're in confined spaces, it doesn't feel like it. They could have easily tried to sort of strangle you as well and put you under pressure, but the camera does not do that. So they give you a nice wide perspective of what's going on, so that's not what they're doing. that's not the problem here. It's quite interesting, and although it's a prison, this is never what's talked about. Usually you would expect in a prison that it would be about, I'm in this closed, confined space, I want to get out. That's not even the case here. It's all just focused on the food and this class thing going on. So it's great that they don't try and distract it with these things. So the camera work, the design of the cells and the place in general, it's all made in a way that doesn't detract from what's going on, the actual plot of the story. Another aspect I like about the film is that not too much of it is actually explained. So again, you don't even see the building from the outside. You have no idea what it looks like. You don't even know what the circumstances are of people actually being imprisoned there. Because our main character, Goreng, he explains briefly in the film that he's there voluntarily. And I'm not quite sure, maybe it makes sense when you're Spanish and it's a national thing, I don't know, but all he says is he's in this prison for 6 months, and when he gets out he gets an accredited diploma. So to me that didn't really make a lot of sense. I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do with this information. I mean, the main thing is he's there of his own volition, which I don't understand why. I can only assume that from the outside people don't know what's going on in this place. So again, he maybe thinks it's just some facility that you're in isolation for a few months, something like that. He has no clue what's going on, but he's there voluntarily. Obviously he regrets the whole thing, and I won't explain what happens. I won't spoil the plot, especially not the ending, but just so you know, I mean, he explains it very early on anyway, but he's in there voluntarily. But all the other details, there's not much known about. You only see, the only personnel you see of the prisoner are the cooks that are preparing all these meals, and it's really weird because again these people are in this prison and you can see that the way they're treating each other is not nice. It's not even decent, it's not even halfway decent. So it's a high contrast to how they prepare the meals, because you've got these chefs and they're all looking to make perfect meals, and you actually see a scene where they find the chef, the head chef, or I'm not familiar with cuisine terms, so I'm not quite sure what you call the head chef. Anyway, he finds a hair, I think it is, in one of the meals, and they try and find it, and he compares people's hair to the ones that he finds, just to find who's responsible. So it's a very high contrast to what's going on below. So they put in all this effort to prepare these elaborate meals, these luxurious meals. You've got snails and all sorts of things, just for it to be sent down and be treated basically like by animals who just go through the whole thing, who are sort of falling over each other trying to just get all this food in them. So many things you don't know about this film, but that makes it interesting. You don't need to know everything. At the end I didn't feel like it was necessary to know many things, so it's yeah, you don't always need everything explained to you. But the only thing I would like to know is why he wanted this diploma so badly to go in there voluntarily. So without knowing Spanish films beforehand, I really liked this one. I enjoyed every aspect of it, the acting, the directing, the set design. I enjoyed the whole of it. Get it? The whole, as I explained before. Sorry, I like puns, so if there's an opportunity, and they literally call it the whole in the film, so I had to put it in somewhere. Watch it if you're not too queasy about violent films, gory stuff going on. It's really not that much in my opinion. I've seen worse. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix film, so it should be available everywhere where Netflix is. Let me know down in the comments whether you liked it. Do you have any suggestions for films that I should see, horror or otherwise? And if you enjoyed this film, please consider leaving a like on it and subscribing to the channel for future videos. I'll see you next time. Take care.